Want to give an opening statement or just jump in?
Nope.
All right.
Let's jump in.
Coach, you're staying on the road again. What's it feel like to be on the road and still in the dance?
It's awesome. Our kind of whole theme for this postseason run was to get an opportunity to have another day together. And, win or lose the whole time, we just want to be together and enjoy the experience together. We've got a special group of people from all the way, from our coaching staff, athletic trainers, SIDs, administrators, and of course players. And just to be around a group of people that trusts each other as much as this group is really, really special. A fun group to be around, and we certainly are excited to play and have a chance to do something that's never been done here before. And we had set this goal in the first couple days of practice that we talked about. This group has enough to win the whole thing, and and we talked about it early, and then we didn't talk about it again. We just got to work and spent time together building what we think is a great team, and in every sense of the word and what that means. Away from wins and losses, it's more about build the best team that we can have, and the wins are going to come. And I think we've seen that all year. These guys have continued to perform in big moments, make big plays when we need to make big plays. And it's different players every night making those big plays, and I think that's what makes us special.
Your players may not have the experience of being in a Final Four, but you've certainly got a couple of teams there. How much does that experience play into this year in terms of, what you know, how to prep and things like that?
It's everything. I think about our group of seniors and Macy as a super senior, and just the experiences along the way have prepared us for this moment. I go back to Macy's freshman year. We hosted, got beaten in the second round at home, but she was the only one in our group that had played in an NCAA tournament in Levick. And then their sophomore year, our senior sophomore year was COVID year. That was certainly a challenge that we had to battle through. And then the next year, those guys made the NCAA tournament again. We lost in the first round at Milliken, but that was really important for us to go and see what it's like. It's different, there's banners hanging, there's protocols, there's press conferences, and you don't get that experience without going through it. So even that first round loss, we learned a lot, and that set us up for the next year, last year, where we went on the road and we won that first game. And then we convinced ourselves that it wasn't over, and prepared to beat a great Hope team, the defending national champs, on their home floor. And that was really important. That game was really important for the run we've had this year. It gave us confidence that we can go on the road and beat big time teams. And then last year when we went and played Christopher Newport, ranked number 1, and Christopher Newport, to their credit, did a great job of kind of getting us hurried up. And, we felt like we could have beat that team, but they hurried us and got us kind of out of character. And we've drawn on that moment. Illinois Wesleyan in a lot of ways was similar to Christopher Newport, and they speed teams up. So we used the Christopher Newport game to win the Wesleyan game. We controlled the tempo, didn't get sped up, shot the right shots. And so the whole run this year has been built on the experiences that we've had throughout these guys' career. Going on the road and winning a big game isn't a big deal anymore. We know we can do that. And these guys are resilient. They never panic. We've been in a ton of close games this season, which has helped us pull out close games in the postseason.
More than anything, Coach, seemingly this group has kind of a refuse to lose attitude. What do you credit that to?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is easy: trust. These guys I mean, I've been in this over 30 years, and I've never had a team that trusts each other as much as this group. They live together. They've lived together their whole time here. They know each other. We have moments where we can joke and flip each other crap, but when it gets down to it, they know each other. They trust each other. We accept each other's flaws because we have them. We don't get hung up on little things that don't matter. These guys live in the moment and live for the next play. I think another strength is we know we're vulnerable, and you can't be great if you don't know you're vulnerable. So we don't take anything for granted. We're always next play mentality. And then it's, we've got a lot of different players that in a big moment can step up. We don't rely on one or two. And we've seen that in the postseason. Jaden had a great game on our first night. And then Illinois Wesleyan took her away, and Brittany had a big game. And then it's somebody else the next game. And it's just the way we're built. So, it's a fun group to be around, and we want to keep going.
You've had a chance, I'm sure, to look at Smith. What's your concerns about playing Smith? What do they look like?
They're good. We don't have concerns. We're going to come up with a game plan, and they have a lot of strengths. And, when we build a game plan, we look at what they're best at and try to find ways to minimize their strengths, and then look and see where they're vulnerable and where we might be able to gain some advantage. And, the other thing about this group is going into these scouts, we're so adaptable. Early in the season, it was we're going to run people out of the gym, and then and we do some days, and then other times we want to control the tempo, and just being able to adapt game to game is a huge strength of this team. When we need to slow it down and be deliberate and execute down the stretch, these guys can do it. When we want to get out and go in transition and score quickly, these guys can do it. So just not every team's built that way. Not every team can play at different tempos, and so that's a huge thing for us. But we're going to look and dig into them throughout the next day, and we'll have a good game plan, and these guys will be committed to executing whatever we come up with.
It sounds like you're not worried that the team will get, be looking around the gymnasium, be in awe of the situation that going into the Final Four.
Not at all. We've talked about that throughout the last few years about, it's still just a basketball game, and we've got to be able to block out all those distractions. And there's going to be more this week, with a banquet and press conferences and CBS and all this stuff. But we've been in those situations, and these guys, when it's time to buckle down and be ready to play, they're going to be ready to play.
On that note, as a coaching staff, is it a little less stressful going to a place you've been before in the Final Four?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, we had that call this morning, they're talking about their facility, and this place is here, and the press room's here, and I'm like, yeah, I know all that. I have real bad memories from that press room, because, our season ended there in 2016 in the Final Four, but it's a great venue. I expect nothing but first class experience, and that was one of Coach Jacobs and I wanted so bad for this team to experience this week. We've been there before. It's going to be familiar to us, but it's not really going to be familiar to our team. But I think we as a staff have learned a lot in the time since that first trip there, and I think we're going to be better equipped to prepare our team to do well.
So what is that blueprint then to be successful in the Final Four?
Same thing it's been when we played Dubuque and Morris and Co. and Simpson. And, I think our league is a great league, 1 through 7. Top 7 teams are as good as it's ever been since I've been here, at least. And So we've talked a lot about, I talked a lot about both weekends about, we don't have to do something remarkable. Like, we don't have to pull off some like miracle. We just have to be a good version of ourselves. And just to go in with that mindset, like, we don't have to do anything differently. We just have to be a good version of ourselves. And if we're banking on a miracle, then we shouldn't probably even be there. So we're comfortable with who we are, and we believe in each other and believe in the people in the room with us. So we'll be ready.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, I know all eyes are forward right now, but let's go back to Friday night with that game-winning bucket that you got pretty much at the buzzer. Initially, after a timeout, you chose to inbound from the far end and you didn't advance the ball. I know I've never seen that done since that rule got changed. Not to say it hasn't been done, but what was the thinking, what was the strategy in that situation?
The strategy was, the official said we dribbled it and couldn't advance. So we weren't able to advance. But it's an interesting question, because there have been times in those situations where I felt like, you know what, maybe we should get the rebound and not call timeout and try to score in transition. So we wanted to advance but couldn't. But I also felt like that was okay because of, we were going to put the ball in Macy's hands in the full court and get her going fast and see if she could make a play quick. And I was going to call a timeout then to then draw something up if we weren't able to get something quick. What happened is they fouled us because they had a foul to give, and then we called the timeout.
And how confident, just seemingly this group, you talk about confident, trust, comfort with everybody. How confident was the file on the floor and everybody with your team that what you drew up was going to work? So the only message I gave my team at that moment was, we've been doing this all year, okay? And then there on social media, there's these people that are saying, oh, Coach Amsberry drew up this great play and executed to perfection, and I'll go on record that I didn't draw that thing up. Coach Little is our baseline and sideline out of bound coordinator. He gets all his stuff on TikTok, I think, but he spends a lot of time studying whatever we're going to need in those moments. And so I gave that first message to the team, and then he brought the clipboard over and he said, let's run this. And I said, draw it up. And I handed him the clipboard and he drew it up. And then afterwards, Macy made a great play, right? Step through, Euro step, great finish. And then after the game, we were walking back to the locker room and he said, man, thanks for trusting me in that moment. And I'm like, that's what we do. That's what our team is. That's who we are. That we're just going to trust each other in big moments. And I knew he was going to come up with something really good. And that's what our team does. We just trust each other. And trust me, there's been plenty of times I've drawn something up and it's a bad call. And our players make something work. And I go back to at Dubuque, we needed a bucket to get that thing to overtime. And I drew something up, and Jaden and Brittany looked at each other and made a play. Like, it was just making a play. And those guys made a play and made us look really good. And then I got a bunch of comments about how great that call was. And that time I just went with it.
I don't want to spotlight one individual because it's a team sport, but an interesting storyline. The Murphy family with your program, all four of the daughters have now been to the Final Four. What does that say kind of about maybe what they've given to this program?
Well, they're really talented, for one. When this thing all started, I believe Mike Murphy went to the Elite Eight, Sweet 16. And I think that the Sweet 16 he played in was over at North Park. And so I think it was Megan and Miranda's senior year, 2018. We went to North Park and played, and Mike was there, and it brought back a bunch of memories for him.
Actually, it might have been, I don't know when it was. It might have been before our Final Four. And then we went to the Final Four the first time, and there was jokes about the girls went further than he did. But the Murphy family's been awesome. They're talented players, and you know, we started winning when we got Murphys here, so maybe I need to sail off with them. But no, they're certainly talented players, but great people, and our whole goal was to surround all of us with the right people, great people, and we've got them all through our lineup. But it really is a cool story. You know, Megan, Miranda, and Riley went to the Final Four, which is up and Mike, and we're hoping Jaden can up the rest of them.
You mentioned how much you wanted for this group to get to the Final Four, but the seniors in particular, when you look back at their careers, I mean, they were involved in all the COVID shutdown. So how extra special does that make this run to the Final Four?
It's certainly special. They've been through a lot, and you know, there was a time where I don't think any of us liked basketball, right? It was kind of an outlet for us that COVID year, but it was hard. It was a hard year. I mean, you go every day wondering if we're going to get shut down. You know, we're spreading out our bench. We're not playing games till January, and we played inter-squad games in the first semester, trying to keep them hanging on, and you know, all that stuff. I think when you look back on it, it was hard at the time, but it's kind of shaped us and made us appreciate the moments we do have now together. And but these guys it's special for all of us, for sure. It's special for all of us. It's a great journey with this group of people, and amazing leaders, amazing people, great students. They have the right things in their priorities. You know, a lot of people probably don't remember, we're #1 in the country in GPA in all of Division III. And, you know, I think we're on pace to do that again, except now Sarah's skipping a bunch of classes with this run. But Sarah and I joke about that, but we were about almost a 3.9 in fall term, and we're hoping we can get through these couple weeks and keep our grades up. But you know, we're getting the right people, and that's been my whole goal. We got to get the right people in here, and if we get the right people and we all buy in together and give it up for each other, we got a chance to do something really special.
So if I could ask a tongue-in-cheek question, are you surrounding yourself with people smarter than you then?
Absolutely. If you know Coach Jacobs, she's that one. Yeah, you hope you surround yourself with people that bring the best out in you, and I think our whole group does that. Like, we empower each other. We're not afraid to say when we screw up, and we all do it, and we always find a way to have somebody pick us up. So it's pretty special. A lot of teams talk about family and all that, and I can't imagine a closer group than us.
Thank you for your time.
Awesome, thanks.